we are students of Franklin High School, and this is our presentation about fighting in our community. So, background information. Franklin High School consists of approximately 2,100 students with over 100 faculty members. The school has a wide range of cultural and ethnic diversity within its student body. The school caters to a wide range of academic classes as well as having many successful sports programs, arts programs, and clubs. Even with all of these positive attributes, the school has a reputation of violence that undermines the positive reputation that many students strive for.
Statement of the problem. Aggression can be found in many places. Have you ever wondered why? Franklin High School has deeply rooted problems with aggression that result in acts of violence, especially fighting. Due to the abundance of fighting, Franklin is viewed as a violent school. In our school, there is a lot of tension between us. Recently this morning during breakfast, there was a fight. It was actually a false alarm, but the way students reacted to the fight, everybody was rushing, they had their phones out to record it, but it was a false alarm. That is the problem that is the statement of the problem that we're trying to address, the tension between us and the fighting that goes on in our school. Okay, so here are the questions that we came up with to show what we're standing for. How would we prevent fighting in our school? What causes students to engage in a fight? Do consequences or punishments influence the occurrence of fights in school? Do security guards help make students feel safe in the school? Do students fight for an audience or because of peer pressure? Is there a disconnect between students and administrators?
So, its significance. Why do we feel that it's important to research about fighting? Well, as students of Franklin High School, we believe that it is our role to do whatever it takes to make our school a better place. In Franklin High School, we value our diversity, our community, and our fellow students. When we fight, it diminishes our values towards our school, towards each other, towards authority, towards our community, towards our education, and towards ourselves. The toll confrontations have is immense. Despite what the majority believes, even a few fights can cause a ripple of negativity in our school. There are those who believe that there is nothing we could do to stop fighting in our schools, but we think otherwise. Maybe we might not be able to stop all the fighting, but even if we can prevent a few, it could make all the difference. So, the analysis of the problem now. Our school, despite its many great features, holds a large reputation for violence and fighting. Most can claim that fights happen on a daily basis at Franklin. We believe that fighting in our school may be caused by several factors, including but not limited to cultural clashes, lack of social and emotional support, faculty that is untrained in dealing with the occurrence of violence, as well as not being in places where fights occur.
So next we're going to present the data. So to collect this data, we use a simple random sample of students from our school and made sure our survey was anonymous as to keep it unbiased. So we posed many questions and had the students either strongly agree, be neutral to, disagree, or strongly disagree to the claims. The first claim we said was, I believe that fights occur frequently. As you can see, no students strongly disagree with this claim, and the majority agree or strongly agree with it. This shows that in our school, there is a general feeling that this violence, even if it isn't occurring, that it is. It's sort of an effect that a reputation has on the ideologies of our students. Next statement we posed was, I have gotten into a fight before. On the graph, we're able to see that there's a minority of students who have gotten into fights before. And most of our students strongly disagree with this claim, saying that they haven't gotten into a fight. So this shows that we have a small 1% of our student student body that are the ones continuously getting into fights and causing trouble and mayhem in our school. The next statement we posed was, which grade fights the most? As you can see, there's an abundance of students in 9th and 10th grade. We believe that this has something to do with the maturity of the students coming in from the middle school. We believe that there is not enough disciplinary action or education about violence taken in these younger grades, as well as them not being taught how to properly interact in a social fashion with their peers, which allows them, which puts into their mind that fighting is a proper option. And the final question we pose is that the security in my school makes me feel safe. In this slide, we were able to see that very few students strongly agreed with this claim, the majority disagreeing, being neutral to, or strongly disagreeing. This is very shocking because the job of security in our school district is to make us feel safe and to make sure the students are able to go from class to class without having to worry and not have to worry about being hurt or any fights going on. But as you can see, that's not the case.
So in addition to collecting information and surveying the students, we felt that we were missing some information. If anything, we wanted to be able to look through the lens and perspective of a faculty member at our school. So who's better than the principal? So after interviewing Principal Frank Schmiel, we had learned that he believes the fights at Franklin High School do not seem to occur so often as we may think. If anything, he says this misconception comes across simply because we have multiple fights in a day sometimes. Nevertheless, he still makes comments that clearly correlate with the data that we had just explained to you. The data had showed that the minority of students had expressed that they have never gotten into a fight, and therefore the minority actually get into fights, but the majority are the ones who actually never do fight. And Mr. Schmiel had explained that less than 1% of the students actually do get and engage in fights, which again supports that idea that most kids out of 2,100 students don't. But nevertheless, he still agreed that fighting is a problem, as it is completely not to be tolerated in an educational setting, especially his own school. These handful of students who are constantly repetitive in their actions that affect the rest of our reputations are receiving some help from the administration currently through prevention methods. And these include a formation of a strong relationship between faculty and students, positive recognition for students who choose to do the right thing, and then an open door policy that ultimately allows for conflict mediation. Mr. Schmiel is hoping that next year he will be able to implement a mentoring program in which teachers will be trained on how to work with students and help them develop socially and emotionally. Because he believes that it's not ethnic differences and clashes that actually cause the fights in our school, but more so just the fact that a lot of students and a lot of kids don't have the social or emotional support that's really necessary for them at this time and at this age.
So, when we were collecting the results of our data, we were able to notice a few things. The first thing being that while a few students fight, the whole school is punished. Our school has very strict regulations of when we need to be in class and on cell phones, and certain things that maybe the regulations shouldn't be as strict on. But because there's a minority of students who are fighting and causing a disciplinary problem, the whole school is being held accountable and being forced to conform to strict guidelines. We also know that the security guards in our school don't make us feel safe. This is important because if we're not going to school in an environment that makes us feel safe, then it just makes a setting of complete of dis-ease within the student body. And we also notice that the younger grades seem to be fighting more. This helps us realize that there needs to be a problem, that the problem of maturity is a big one in this situation. So that needs to be supplemented in younger grades. We have an intermediate school and a middle school that have students that are fostering this violent behavior. So if we start teaching them about the proper ways to deal with issues like talking it out, then there would be less fights in the high school. We also notice that a lot of harsher punishments do not solve problems. The minority of students who are continually getting into fights are continually getting harsher and harsher punishment. But it does not seem to solve the problem for them because they keep on repeatedly making these aggressive actions. And we also notice that many students would fight to maintain a reputation or defend their friends. So we realize that students learn how to properly socially interact with each other, then a lot of the problems of violence that we have will go away.
First off, enforcing more security guards throughout the school will help prevent altercations from rising and fear students from getting caught fighting and having to face consequences. Also, with all the teachers in our school, having teachers stand outside the door during passing time will help prevent many fights. A lot of fights happen during transition from class to class, and having teachers stationed outside will influence student decisions. This is just another step towards preventing fights and physical altercations. Last but not least, we should have more staff building relations with students and having check-ins throughout the year. Making students feel comfortable talking to an adult will help prevent fights significantly. This will be the time where they can talk out their problem instead of them trying to work it out by themselves and trying to fight things out. How to implement solutions. We need to begin teaching students about the dangers and consequences of fighting from early as middle school. We could also give the students more of a sense of maturity in younger grades instead of having solutions such as tickets. We also need to have training for security guards that have them get involved in conflicts between students before an actual fight or altercation occurs.
These are some questions we came up with to further our research. We believe that if we were to investigate this issue further, we would try to answer, we believe that if we were to investigate the issue further, we would try to answer these questions. Will teaching about fights in elementary schools be effective? How do we improve accuracy and effectiveness of school security? How do we establish open communication between students, teachers, and security? And what other methods of making sure disciplinary actions are followed can we use?
At the end of the day, the goals are simple: safety and security. Jody Rao. As students of Youth in Action, we are familiar and have come to understand what it means to identify a single problem and find solutions for that problem. But as students of Franklin High School, we actually understand how severe this problem at hand really truly is. It is completely unacceptable for students to come to school and constantly look over their shoulder while walking in the hallway because they are afraid of being jumped. It is completely unacceptable for students to try and side with one another in a small fight or a small argument that will grow into something much more worse. It is completely unacceptable for students to watch their friends and classmates get hurt. And beyond anything else, it is not okay for any student to feel unsafe in their school environment. Why? Because as students and as individuals in this society, we have the right to feel safe and secure while learning, growing, and prospering in an educational environment. And isn't that what the whole education system is about? It's not about being unsafe. It's not about feeling scared in your own building. Because if you are, you're not going to learn anything, and the sole focus of education is going to go away.
Thank you guys for your attention and time. In viewing our presentation, we hope that you could implement our research and feedback into your own schools and take action against fighting and the use of violence. We'd like to ask you guys, what do you guys think are some solutions to the fighting problem in schools? If anyone has any suggestions, please call them out.
Yes. I think when you said that to focus on the consequences of fighting in elementary school, it's definitely a good idea. I mean, sorry, middle school, it's definitely a good idea. As well as, I don't remember the name of it, but there is a program in other schools where instead of giving tickets and like demerits and stuff like that, they focus on like meditation and like communication and they're replacing that with suspension. And they see the fighting going down in a lot of the schools in which the program is implemented. I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, I think focusing on the middle school really will help when they transition into high school.
We agree with that.
I think that program is called Mindful Schools at Work.
Once again, even the smallest actions can make the biggest differences. From our presentation, we truly hope that you can implement the things you have learned here today into your own schools so that ultimately we as students can be the blockade that prevents fights from developing. We ask you to use your hands, use your minds, and use your voice to take action. We have been Franklin High School.
Does anyone have any questions? Questions? Questions, comments, concerns? Oh, over there.
I'm a former middle school principal for 11 years, and we had the vision before I came in and had the same exact concern. One of the things I actually need to do from the leadership perspective is implement one philosophy of not just mindful schools, but positive behavioral support. What it is basically modeling all of the positivity where people are focusing on just what should be done rather than just the negative points. And you're giving incentives for people as they go through. So for example, teachers standing by the door is huge. So what is the principal doing for the teachers as far as like maybe some sort of incentive where maybe a parking spot, they can get closer to the schools and get enough tickets. Kids are walking on the lawn a whole lot. Praise the students who are not walking along, so the ones who are walking along can say, well, I want some of those tickets. But also incentives like prizes as they gain certain tickets after attending the lunch periods with a friend, ice cream, whatever it is. That's what you start doing at the middle school level. Those are things. The game sheets, a school store that they can actually buy stuff in the school store for the ticket. So that's one way of focusing on the positive for those individuals who are doing it right. Or the ones who are not will say, I want to be part of that, and that helped change my whole school environment in 1 year.
No more questions. There's one right there. Yeah?
So you did a great, wonderful presentation. I think you did a great job at also pointing out the sort of the disconnect between the actual percentage of fighting and the perception and the reputation. So I'm interested, and of course we'll have plenty of time to talk about it at some point. When you know, because the reality statistic-wise, it wasn't as glaring as that real perception and that real feeling. So my question, and you don't have to answer it now, but something to think about is, okay, say we get the teachers at the door, we do all of those incentives, and we really minimize the number of fights. How do we change that perception? How do we work to make people know, really, Franklin is not an unsafe high school, and really it's still a perception that we need to work on. I would be interested in that, as well as obviously reducing fights as much as we can. So you don't need to try, if you want to take a stab, go ahead, but it's a good question.
Okay, I think that's a really, really good question, and I'm really happy you actually brought that up, because I personally have a problem when, you want to try and change your reputation in the eyes of the public, because I know for a fact that a lot of people don't have the best ideas in their head when they hear about Franklin. And I think the best way to kind of go about that is not to solely focus just on one negative, because there are so many positives to cover up that negative, and that can kind of overshadow it. The academics, the various vigorous courses we have, from standard to AP and CEP classes, the extracurriculars and the clubs. I think if we really kind of emphasize on that, and we talk about that aspect, and we talk about how these fights are not what define our school by any means whatsoever. And I do think we're going to get to the point where a lot of people are going to come to realize that, because ultimately, communities grow. You never stay in one place for too long, because if you have people who are willing to take action and communicate, you won't be stuck.